Welcome, Canada and our friends around the world. Welcome again to our base camp here for episode 43 of the Travel Talk Show, the hottest show in Canada. We are a podcast of the ATTA Marketing Group, broadcasting live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. from our base camp somewhere here in beautiful Maple Leaf, Canada, home of the polar bear.
Home of the polar bear. That's new.
Yeah. Hey, did you know, Junior, that in the Inuit religion, polar bear is referred to as Nanook or ehCanadaTravel.com? The story goes, this is a cool little story about our Inuit population. The story goes, Nanook was the master of the bears, right?
Okay,
meaning this bear here, he's the bad boy. And he decided if hunters deserved access or success to finding and hunting bears. And you know what happened? You know what this bad boy did? If they didn't like what the hunters were doing, these bad boys, the ehCanadaTravel or the Nanook, would punish the hunters who violated their beliefs. That is a little bit of Inuit folklore for our followers today and our people tuning in. What do you think of that?
I love that First Nations history, and folklore. I mean,
the history of Canada goes way beyond the European, when the Europeans came over. I mean, that's the big, and that's where the interest is, all the culture, traditions, the language, right? So I thought I would throw out a new word I learned, ehCanadaTravel, which is part of
it. Brings out a great idea. I mean, like we talked about before about talking to an elder, hearing their history and stuff. It'd be great to get an elder on the show. Tell us from, firsthand knowledge.
You get working on that, man.
Okay.
You do that one. Our guest today
will,
is Mr. Adventure, Shannon Stowell, the CEO of the Adventure Travel Trade Association. Oh, yeah. Mr. Adventure is here. And we've been talking about this guy all week on all 8 of our social media channels. And we're going to talk about him some more today. So a little bit about our friend Shannon here. He's part of the Adventure Travel Trade Association, and they were established in 1990, as far as I know. Nickname ATTA, ATTA, or for short, is the largest global network of adventure travelers, of leaders, and stakeholders. The community is made up of around 30,000, and this is cool. Pretty much anything that bleeds adventure travel is part of this group, right? You got individual guides, tour operators, lodges, travel advisors, tourism boards, destination marketing, management organizations, outdoor educations, gear companies, travel media, and whoever else shares a belief and commitment to sustainable tourism. Bet you can't say that 3 times real fast.
Yeah, now you get to breathe.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a group of people there, if putting all that gerbil power together.
That's an impressive network. I mean, that's huge.
It's going to be a brilliant day, and we're going to learn a lot. A little bit about the travel. UNWTO Global Report came out, and the Adventure Travel Trade Association, ATTA, ATTA, for all of you that want to find them real fast on search engines, defines adventure tourism as a trip that includes at least 2 of the 3 following. Now, this could have changed because we've had a lot of things in our industry that has gone a little upside down lately, and it's called COVID. So 2 of the 3 were physical activity, natural environment, and cultural immersion. And you know what? I got 3 out of 3.
Wow. Yep. I want to see that. We need proof.
You saw it for 10 years, buddy. All of that. I'm all over those 3 things, man. Right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't doubt the results at all.
I know. According to our friends at Skift, the adventure tourism market has grown on average 60% every year since 2013. Hence why we have a website, and we love adventure, and we're addicted to adventure. So our website's all about that. So it's growing at a fast pace. Now, again, with growth, we've got to be careful, right? Over tourism, cultural invasions, community overboardment. I mean, there's tons of things you got to watch. So this is good because I believe Shannon is a big proprietor and a big voice for responsible growth of adventure tourism, and I'm all over that too. So I guess I'm 4 for 4.
I'm impressed.
I know. What are you? What's your 4 for 4?
5 for 4 at least.
Oh, there's no tipping. You don't get a tip when you pick adventure tourism. Okay. On the average, and here's what I love about it, and this is what I do, and we do, Colin, when we go talk to groups and we do our little public speaking stick, is one of the big things people don't understand about adventure tourism is average stay. In Canada, we have so many communities that are fighting to get over 1 night average stay. If they can get a 2 to 3 night average stay in our smaller mid-sized communities, it's considered a win, right?
Yeah.
But according to Trip Savvy, the average stay of an adventure tourism traveler is 10 days.
Wow, that's huge.
That's huge. I mean, that's make or break. So that is why, you know, currently where we are right now working on a project, we're all about telling them, don't miss this opportunity. You got an opportunity to grow into an industry, but you can do it responsibly. You can do it smart. You can control it, and you can fund money into your small businesses, and you can attract businesses, more tour groups, sports shops, more coffee shops, more pubs, all of that good stuff. It's all good.
And the adventure tourist comes back more than once, because after the 10 days, they can, you know, they discover what they haven't seen yet, and they come back.
Look at where we are. 200 lakes, a lake a day for as long as you stay, 200 lakes within, what, 15-minute drive from here?
Yeah.
Holy
10 days isn't enough.
I know. There's huge opportunity again, but there's blind spots. And, you know, you're sort of going from traditional tourism, and yeah, we're all marketing maybe like a traditional tourism organization, but it's not traditional anymore. Tourism is no way, any shape, size, or form in the condition it was 5 years ago. It's way different.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
So Shannon is going to bring a lot to this conversation about adventure tourism and sustainability, because he is Mr. Adventure. Shannon will be joining us online in about 10 minutes. But first, we got to do the legalities, because you got the big boys upstairs, the corporate suits, telling us you got to say this boring stuff. So we're going to do 2 minutes of boring stuff. We are the
Co-Bro. Exciting as possible.
What's that?
I will make it as exciting as possible.
Yeah. And also, look at our background. We got the adventure background for Mr. Stowell. We've gone all out. We've customized our show to honor Mr. Adventure. So a little bit about ourselves. My name is Greg Gerard. I'm your co-host. Co-bro host is what we like to say. Co-bro host of the ATTA Travel Talk Show. We are co-bro founders of the ehCanadaTravel.com, Canada's most personal and most interactive website. We were voted the best nationwide adventure travel company by Lux Life Hospitality Awards this year in 2021. We also pen a blog, Two Brothers, 2 Feet, Too Curious, Too Canadian. It was ranked 23rd of the top 1,000 global travel bloggers by Global Rise in 2020. And you are, sir?
I am the other half.
Oh boy, that was detailed. That was detailed.
I am the co-owner of ATTA.travel.com and co-host of the Travel Talk Show. Proud to be here, and yeah, I mean, you covered all the little details there with quite a bit of accuracy, and well done.
You know what? They ain't little. They're huge details, massive details.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
They're country-changing details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm keeper of the code. I'm the head tech guy, and I make sure everything keeps going in the back end. Well, the brother here is the front end of the scene.
I'm the mouthpiece. Yeah. Say it like it is.
The mouthpiece.
Yep, that's it. I'm the one that get to do. I get to meet all these interesting people face to face, and you get to meet them all online, coding, building, and creating, because you are the keeper of the code. And by all means, a very, very important part to my life and to the furtherment of this business. Our friends call us, we have now garnered a nickname which we sort of have taken hold of. We are called the Brothers of Tourism. We like to think of ourselves as the adventure geeks in Canada, collectors of bumps and bruises, and the explorers of our country. Our team practices boots on the ground tourism research, so you, our friends and travelers, can maximize your fun on your next Canadian vacation, because we've done it all for you. All the trails, all the parks, all the lakes, all the rivers, all the everything, coast to coast to coast to coast. Oh, take -1 coast, and all on ehCanadaTravel.com. The show is broadcast every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. PST on Facebook and now YouTube. We just started YouTube. But as you know, and anyone who does any type of statistics, tourism businesses are all on Facebook, and then everything else follows behind. So we focus on Facebook because that's where our listeners, our talkers, and our travelers are mostly found. This is a live show, so stuff happens. Sometimes video cuts out, sometimes audio ain't up to snuff. Welcome to Canadian Live TV. Yeah, in the bush, live TV. That's what we do, right?
Here we are.
So expect some Canadianism, some laughs, and some good times if we have to recover from any interruptions during the show. We've only had it happen, what, twice now? That's it? I think twice.
Minor interruptions.
And they actually made for good viewing. It was hilarious, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. The following day, our ambassador of buzz here at the ATTA Base Camp will share the episode on our live scrolling travel community feed. Please sign up, become a adventure seeker, and then we will share it on our live feed. Then we'll show it on our social media and on our blog on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, and LinkedIn. You can see this show tomorrow. At the end of the month, we will feature it on our blog, Two Brothers, 2 Feet, 2 Curious, 2 Canadian. I could say that twice really fast because we've said it 43 times, and this is our 43rd show. Welcome, everyone.
That's a cool name.
What's that?
Plus, a cool name, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It works,
I think
right?
It's a great name. Yeah.
So welcome, everyone, to the most Canadian show online. Travel Talk Show, the ATTA Talk Show. Our guest tonight is Mr. Shannon Stowell. Let me give you a little breather on who this gentleman is. Shannon is the CEO of the Adventure Travel Trade Association. He is also an author, and he writes articles for Adventure Travel News, and he's also been featured in other articles and well-known print media as the New York Times. Shannon serves on 2 boards, as far as I know, the Corporate Advisor Council of the U.S. Wildlife Trafficking Alliance and the Adventure Travel Conservation Fund, ATCF for short. He also once served on the board of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council Board and the American Hiking Society. So he's a fellow hiker and backpacker like us, Call. He loves the backwoods. Just that alone scores points, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's in our books.
I think he's Canada approved. I think he's got the Canada approved label on him. Not
potential honorary Canadian there.
He's not made in Canada, so he's an honorary Canada approved, right?
That'd be honor. Yeah.
Shannon has been advising and speaking around the world for the last 13 years, advocating for responsible tourism and sustainability. A powerful way for destinations to benefit from tourism is through the intersection of commerce, conservation, and community. This guy has done it all. He's learned from personal experiences. He shares his personal, and we are so pleased. And please put your virtual hands together to give Shannon a big maple leaf welcome. And here he is, Mr. Adventure, Shannon Stowell. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I hope you enjoyed our little virtual green room there.
I'm excited to be an honorary Canadian.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's potential.
Yes.
That's only potential. You haven't made it yet.
Well, yeah. Now our population's 10 people.
Yeah. But you're saying it's hard to say that your show got interrupted a couple of times and that it was actually spectacular, and it reminded me of a time I was speaking at a conference and a whale breached behind me, and it was over.
Nice.
No way.
I think
nice. Took the attention away.
Yeah. What do you get, a whale or bad internet? I'll take the whale.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Shannon, we sort of gave a real quick synopsis of your wonderful career and your advocacy for the betterment of adventure tourism. And from Junior and I, for one, we appreciate that because that's our wheelhouse, is adventure travel. Yes. Maybe if you got a few seconds, you could fill us in a little bit about who Mr. Adventure is.
Oh, thank you. In brief, I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, where I am now at my parents' house right now. And I got a biology degree from Seattle Pacific University and thought I was going to be a fisheries scientist. And then realized pretty quickly once I worked in a lab that I actually was not a scientist because I was around real scientists. But I worked there for 8 years and was able to travel all around Asia developing our business. And it gave me the bug for travel. And then in '97, a friend and I launched an internet company to sell outdoor gear. We were one of the first to be an internet pure play, is what they used to call them.
Okay.
Selling outdoor recreation products. And 6 years into that, I joined this association and as a member. And after a period of time thought, boy, this thing seems like it could be incredible if we could connect businesses and governments that are interested in adventure travel all around the world. So in 2004, I took the ATTA over, and then I never looked back.
Wow.
Nice.
That is a story. And this is about, did you sort of, is this sort of the direction you wanted to go in, as sort of an advocacy towards adventure tourism, or is it sort of fall in your lap?
It actually evolved. When I first started, my view of what this could be was, now I look back at it, was quite small, quite limited. And it was over a period of time that somebody in our industry, who now works as part of our team, came to me. He goes, you should start using your voice for important issues, because I know you care about them. And we were still kind of in the early days, and I remember pushing back and saying, look, we're barely paying the bills. I can't take on anything that doesn't pay the bills. And he said, wrong, you need to do both. And it was great. And I started thinking about that. I've never forgotten that moment. We were sea kayaking, actually. And then over time, because we always stood strongly on issues about sustainability, protection of children, wildlife, local community involvement, we attracted team that were motivated by the mission, and we attracted members and partners and customers. And because we were always super clear about our morals and our ethics, we ended up attracting this unbelievable community of adventure travel professionals that, you walk in the room at our conferences. Well, when COVID's over, you can do that. You can't right now. But when we would get all together in the same room, it was incredible, because you've got people from all over the world, but there's this string that connects them all, which is they care about adventure travel and they care about doing it right.
It sounds like our type of people, eh, Cole?
Oh, it sounds like it'd be an impressive group.
Yeah, and guess what?
Right in.
Yeah, Diaz, that would go up there.
Can we wear cool flannel shirts too to that?
As long as they're
everybody.
Excellent.
Right.
For the show, because we like to be very versed on our guests, and we want to make sure that we share in your accomplishments. And I was going through your website, and there was a little phrase that caught. Maybe you can explain it to us a bit. I'll just read it off here. It says, adventure tourism is more dependent than any other forms of tourism on human and nature capital. The protection and thoughtful promotion of these resources is crucial, not just for adventure travel's continued success, but for the social, cultural, and environmental integrity of any destination. Like, that's a jam-packed statement, man. There's a lot going on there. So can you maybe give us some background on this and what this is telling us?
Sure. I mean, it's sort of a long, fancy way of saying that nature and local culture are the bedrock of good tourism experiences. Okay. And so if the nature is pristine, if the local people are happy to see you in their destination, then those are going to be the best trips for people to experience. That's when you see the wildlife, you breathe the fresh air, you eat the local cuisine, you meet local people and hear stories. There's a real incredibly special aspect to tourism that involves those things. And so really our business, our organization, and the members that are a part of it, we all hold that same view, that it is our job to protect those things. And so most of the businesses that are in our network, that at least that we're aware of, I mean, every business is doing some sort of project that's working with the local people to involve them in the tourism process and the success, the financial success. And then also environment is a huge part of it as well. And then the physical activity is the third pillar. And the reason that we identified that as the basic definition for adventure travel is it's broad enough that your 80-year-old grandmother who's doing a walking trip in Ireland is having a real adventure. Yeah. And then your younger crazy brother that's climbing mountains in Nepal is also having a real adventure. Okay. And they both fall into adventure travel. So
yeah. And that's, I think, important, is broadening the scope of what adventure travel actually is. And that's, I think, even just the self-education of the marketplace to say that if you are 80 and you go hike and you go walk the Riverfront Parkway in this town, that's adventure travel. You're seeing the pelicans, you're seeing the birds, you're seeing new scenery, you're seeing architecture, culture, you're going to run into all this stuff. I think you hit it on the head. I think that's a big part of explaining the industry in itself, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It's all relative to who you are. Like you say, it's not, you don't have to be 18 to 30 to adventure travel.
Right. Yeah. That's right. And exactly 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the image of adventure travel was usually young men taking lots of risks.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's just not the case. And that's not how we define adventure travel. It's not actually how the traveler defines it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's much more accessible than a lot of people think at first glance or think at first thought.
Yes, I agree. So maybe then that's sort of a good segue, that if you could please expand a second on how does this all relate, this whole situation, how does it all relate to the growing disconnect? It's sort of like a feast or famine effect. And when it comes to our over tourism, and here in Canada, the rural communities, and I'm sure across the USA and across the world, small and rural towns are losing jobs. Businesses are closing, industry is leaving, they're downsizing. So how can you connect this with over tourism to feast or famine sort of thing? Because we have over tourism issues here. We have a Banff, which is a big problem. Whistler, another one. So these are, so how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really thorny problem, right? Because you've got these beautiful places that a lot of people want to see and experience, and who's to tell them they can't? On one hand. On the other hand, if a place gets completely overrun and the local businesses are driven out because of international businesses, or taxes go too high, or whatever, or you overcrowd a place and the wildlife disappears, it's been ruined. And so it really, good adventure travel has to be managed. And it is, there are no pat answers for this. It really depends on every destination. I did find it really interesting, and I'm just going to say it, encouraging, that Key West residents during this time have voted to say no more big cruise ships in Key West. And
that's huge.
Wow. There's an example of the locals saying, you know what? We've had a taste of not having that over tourism, and we like it.
Yeah.
But over tourism, sometimes people think, oh, it's Venice with 40 million visitors a year. But it could also be a small village that has a big bus of tourists who are misbehaving and disrespectful going through a very small town. That can be over tourism too. So it's not always giant numbers of people, although that's certainly the ugliest version of over tourism. So we're big advocates for destination management. We work with a lot of companies that are really dedicated to small group tours. And in fact, we just worked with Peru, but pre-COVID, and took 20 journalists there to see Peru. And guess where we didn't go? Machu Picchu.
The big boy.
Right. So we didn't even go there, because they don't need more people to go to Machu Picchu. They need people to go to the other regions within Peru. So we actively work on that.
So here's a question. And I'm sure this might be an issue around, and this is maybe one of our beefs with our government-run tourism associations, is that why do we keep marketing the over tourism spots to the world, and we're not marketing the growing and individual small communities of the world? So this is my pet peeve. Every year here in Canada, Whistler, Banff, Jasper, all these guys, Tofino, same list, same news coverage, same reporter there every single time. But we don't pick out these other little hot spots that are growing tourism, that have better scenery, better tours, better attractions, but no one knows about them. How do we change that structure top down to spread the wealth with education, media coverage? How do we do that?
Well, I think COVID is going to have a natural dampening of the crowded big places. From what we're seeing in research, people are much more interested now in being away from other travelers in their own known small groups. And I think that'll carry beyond COVID. I mean, obviously there's a post-COVID world coming here. And but I think some of the behaviors that have started during this time will carry on. And you know, the way you asked the question, I think, and this isn't an insult to tourism departments. It's really not. Those are the things that sell. You put Machu Picchu in the catalog, and that's where the average tourist that thinks about Peru wants to go.
Okay.
If you like, every destination has this challenge where they've got their iconic anchors of tourism, and that's the easiest way to get people to show up. So it's harder to sell, you know, the more off the beaten path. People want to see the grandiose, and people have bucket lists. They have the checklist they want to do. So, you know, I think unfortunately it's partly a human thing, but we're seeing lots of destinations working very hard to say, okay, come and see the Taj Mahal for a little bit, and then all this other stuff in India that you should go and be spending your time in. The Taj Mahal is actually, they had an insane over-tourism situation a while ago where even if you bought a ticket, you physically couldn't get in because there were so many tickets oversold.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a real problem.
It can be. Hey, did you see that New Zealand commercial?
Yes, loved it. The influencers.
Social distance influencers?
Yes.
Brilliant, right? Brilliant.
Super. Yeah. So I have a good example for you. So Norway has the troll tongue, which is this. Have you heard of the troll tongue? It's this incredible rock jutting out over a fjord, right?
Okay.
And I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it was maybe 5-7 years ago. It was maybe 100 or 200 people, a day that would go, or maybe that was per month. Anyway, influencers started taking pictures of themselves and tagging them and saying where they were, and all of a sudden there were scores of thousands of people showing up, and this place is not. Like if you're not prepared, you can get in real trouble with the weather. It's a longer hike than people realize. So they had people showing up from Asia in shorts and tennies and heading out. And so they had a serious over tourism issue because they were having to do rescues all the time. So they combated that with lots of really heavy duty warnings. And I believe they even had rangers there basically saying, you are not prepared for what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. And it's interesting because, the social media is such a blessing and can be such a curse when it comes to over tourism or behaviors. People doing illegal things, climbing to the top of the pyramids, behaving in scandalous ways in conservative countries. These are things that other people then mimic. And it's a genuine problem. Wildlife, taking photos with wildlife.
Oh, we got
so
that
that's
problem.
That's something we really try to combat through our association as well. Is if you go to Brazil, don't hold the anaconda. Please don't do that. And people love to get the picture with the anaconda draped around themselves, but what that means is those people are going to be taking those wildlife out of the wild for those photos and giving them a substandard life. So anyway, social media is great, and it's a plague.
Yes.
Here's a little thing for you. 60% of Canadian tourists visit rural regions, while 40% here in Canada do the urban travel thing. We work with small and rural, so we're very passionate there, and that's a lot of the background behind our questioning is trying to develop these areas that have beautiful physical inventory, but have blinders on and don't realize they have the beautiful physical inventory.
Yep.
So the rural population, percent of total population in Canada is around 18.5% in 2019. So what we see that you partner with many large bodies like Destination Canada, Travel Alberta, Aboriginal Canada. These are the very large bodies and a lot of the powerful forces here that are paving the path for our tourism brand. But they mostly cater to urban. So most of our adventure tourism is near the rural destinations. Our best fishing, our best mountain climbing, our best hiking, our best horseback riding is all in rural. You don't get that in downtown Toronto.
Sure.
This is what they're pushing. And we see very little, even if they market the whole province or territory as a rural destination and maybe spread the wealth a bit. They don't have the time, the staff, so they have to rely on these bigger associations to help them out. And then again, sort of leading back to the back question, the best type of tourism to fall within the category of how tourism is forming post-COVID it's in our small areas, but they don't have the infrastructure built up to support adventure tourism. So what do we do there?
Well, it's interesting. We actually just did an event about 2 weeks ago, and one of our partners, we had 5. One of them was the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada.
Yep.
And part of the reason that we did that is we wanted our members to meet the Indigenous tourism providers around Canada, yep, who do have the infrastructure, who do know how to handle the guests. Mm-hmm. But what I hear you asking, I think it really is, it's governmental infrastructure decisions, right? And one of the beautiful things about adventure tourism is that it doesn't need as much infrastructure as mass tourism does, right? You don't necessarily have to have paved roads, mm-hmm, or giant hotels or any of those things. So, mm-hmm, so actually, you know, adventure tourism infrastructure is a little simpler and to me, it's better for the destination. You know, in the long run, to have built out many smaller, unique and interesting opportunities for customers to visit. And one of the traps that we see a lot of these rural areas fall into is they rely almost solely on their nature to promote themselves, mountains, or in the case of places around the world that have beaches, the beaches. Mm-hmm. And those are all, of course, important, and people are looking to go to mountains and beaches. But ultimately, your experience that really sticks with you is the people, because no one can be like the Greenlanders, right? No one can out Jordan the Jordanians.
Yep. Yep.
And so we always tell people, we always give that advice and say, of course, show the natural beauty that's here, but focus on telling your stories, because your stories are unique and are not the same anywhere else in the world. And that is what will make your destination really special.
Yeah, good advice. Very good advice. So I think one of the things that we promote on our end here is we call it sort of like base camp touring. So what you can do is, if you want to stay in a big city, by all means do it. But 25 kilometers outside of that, you're going to hit nature. So tag into that and do your research. So you're looking at that day trip radius around your center. What we're seeing in some of our reporting and our analysis is that what happens is somebody will pick up and they'll go to one town and they'll stay there a day. Then they'll pick up, go and drive 80 kilometers to another town, stay there one day, and all this wasted time driving when they could be packed up, set up, and just do day trips out from that base camp. So that's another aspect we're sort of pushing, is this base camp vacationing. If you're staying here, and that's sort of how our internet presence is structured, is we want everyone to look beyond where you're staying.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
That's actually why I believe Las Vegas joined our association, because when they joined, we said, Las Vegas?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, do you know what's around us? And we want people to get out there and go see the desert and go rock climbing and all these sorts of adventure experiences.
Yep. Kukuli Cafe we had a guest on here. Her name is Shannon Stowell, fabulous guest. She's part of First Nation Indigenous BC. So she's just given a shout out here, and you can pick it up when you're off. And she's saying, give us a shout, and she'd be interested in talking to you.
I'd love it. Happy to.
Excellent. There you go, Sharon. See, another happy viewer. That's what we do here. We just build happy viewers.
That's great.
So here in Canada, Statistica report in February 2021 that Canada is predicted to lose 260,000 jobs, and you guys are experiencing the same thing down south. If the virus is contained, we're doing that. But they're saying if it continues to grow, and we don't like to harp on this COVID thing, but you got to ask one question. If the virus is not contained, they say we're going to lose 450,000 jobs. And that's, I don't know, that's a lot of our population here. We don't have your population. And that's all coming from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, which reported hospitality in itself, out of that massive job loss, 27% of businesses are going to close, and arts and recreation 30%, and in some areas up to 50%. So here's where what I'd like to know is if we got this. I know on our trip we were talking, the one we went to the Arctic, we went through a lot of small towns, and a lot of it's boarded up. There's just no traffic there to support the highway roadside attractions. So when this floodgate opens, because everyone's got travel envy right now, and when it goes, there's going to be a big surge, I think, at the beginning. And how are these places going to manage the tourist if we don't have if the stores are gone.
Right. It is a real problem. It is a real problem. It's occupying the majority of my stress for me right now is just hearing the stories from our members around the world, because our members are in almost 100 countries. And I think the latest figure I saw was 170 million tourism jobs have been lost globally, which is
wow,
a really staggering figure.
That's terrible.
You know, there are some silver linings here and there, and I'm bullish on adventure and specialty travel, and I can come back and tell you why I think that is. Mm-hmm. And we've done some research with Euromonitor, and what we found was, in short, that the adventure travel market will recover likely 3 or 4 years before mass travel does. And a different study is predicting that cruise may not fully recover for a decade. Whoa. And then the scariest number for me right now, or the scariest statistic, is that business travel has always sort of written the bill or paid the bill for leisure travel.
Yeah.
And business travel is not expected to recover for, nobody knows, because now we're able to do Zoom meetings, and nobody's going to be doing, or very few people are going to do 1 meeting flights across a country to go and have an hour meeting in New York. That's done.
Yeah.
But it was those people in the front of the plane subsidizing a lot of the back of the plane. So there are some really thorny questions around the recovery of tourism. I am bullish on adventure tourism, not only from the data that we've gathered in the research and anecdotal evidence. I was on a United Nations Tourism Day call, and it was focused on Latin America, and the 3 heavy hitters on the video were Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina, and all 3 of them basically said our restart is going to be around nature tourism, adventure tourism, ecotourism, and that wasn't me talking, that was them.
Yeah.
But here's why I think that adventure and religious and food, all those travel sectors are going to recover quicker, is that if you're a leisure traveler, you might be thinking, should I remodel my bathroom or go on that trip to Hawaii? Should I upgrade my vehicle? An adventure traveler, if you're a birder or a cyclist or a climber, it's who you are.
Yes.
It's partly what defines you. It's what drives you. It's your motivation. It's your light. And so I believe that's what's going to help drive the recovery for those sectors quicker, is that, you know, for me personally, I would rather go to Jordan than remodel my bathroom.
Yeah. We're the same way. It's funny you mentioned that, because when we were talking about, like, we try to I guess you would call it invest in ourselves every year, treat ourselves for working hard.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, it wasn't a trip to Jordan, it wasn't a trip to Hawaii, it was a new snowboard or a new kayak or a new mountain bike, or should we even go golf clubs this year? It's always looking and that was our list.
Some fresh plaid.
We're feeding the passion.
We want to get some nice red furry plaid for our next time we have Shannon on our show. Right. So maybe go ahead.
I was just going to say, back to your original question, it's a real issue. And, you know, the only encouragement I can make right now is if you can support local businesses through your own purchases, please do it. We're actually going to try to raise a fund to help some of the hardest hit small companies around the world. And so if anybody listening is interested in maybe being involved in that, you can find me through many different resources. But we're on a mission to try to help the companies and the destinations that don't have help. Because Canadian companies, as hard hit as you are, you do have some good government assistance. The U.S. has some clunky, but it's working. We ourselves have the PPP loan and all that.
Yeah.
But a lot of our members are in places that have zero assistance.
Yes.
That's tough.
None. And it's completely out of their control. It's beyond their ability to manage it. So
yeah, exactly. And you said something I was going to ask about it, but now because you said something else that was interesting, I forgot. So, well, I'm going to have to email you a whole bunch of stuff now.
Sure, anytime.
So how has Being that we're our wheelhouse is adventure tourism, and we're really big on sustainability of our parks, and one of our pet peeves is littering. We can't stand it. Bothers the heck out of us on what we see sometimes on a roadside stop. Down the edge is a fridge. I mean, some of the stuff is ridiculous. But how has the adventure tourism industry adjusted or pivoted during the pandemic? Like, how have you changed your playbook? Because everyone's changed the playbook. No one's running on the playbook we had a year ago. So how has ATTA changed its playbook?
I mean, as an association, of course, we've moved almost everything we do into industry assistance. And so that's everything from information on how to manage your business better financially, to HR, to mental health, to the COVID guidelines. We worked with one of the top 2 rated hospitals in the US called the Cleveland Clinic. And we built COVID-19 guidelines for overarching adventure travel, and then 10 different specific sports like climbing trips inside that. So as an association, we've really moved towards what can we do to support our business and governmental communities out there. As far as the adventure travel businesses themselves, I'm guessing Canada probably had a very similar experience to the US this summer, where it started out rocky, and then like the rafting companies and those that offered domestic adventures were off the charts busy. Because all those people not flying to Brazil or Chile or Bulgaria are instead driving around Canada, driving around the US. And so the domestic market did well. A lot of the international outbound companies experimented with pivoting to doing domestic trips. And, nobody's really sharing everything of what's going on, but my sense is that it's worked for some and not worked for others. And then different destinations have different challenges, like Chile. If you're not within driving distance of Santiago, you're out of luck. There is no domestic market. There's nobody to come and drive to your fly fishing lodge. And then we've heard from other destinations, like Argentina was one that called this out, that said the Argentinians don't want to pay what the Europeans will pay for the activities. And so we're used to charging $1,000 for this trip, and suddenly we've got the locals saying, well, I'll do it, but I want to do it for 1/10 that price.
We have that here in Canada.
And then like Jordan, for example, so it's so spotty. This has been such a confusing crisis in so many ways. So in Jordan, the Jordanians are going to the Dead Sea and spending money. So the Dead Sea is getting by. Petra is almost empty. I mean, if you could get to Jordan right now and go to Petra, it would be a once in a lifetime experience, because finally there wouldn't be a crowd of people there. But that's not good for the local guides, the donkey rider, the guys who take people on trips on the donkeys, and the little restaurants, and the ones that make the trinkets. So we're in for a really, really rough year with a lot of heartbreaking stories, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm still bullish on adventure. But the ride's not over.
No, that's sort of what we're going, is we sort of we don't want to harp on any of the negatives, but there's always opportunity, and we're pessimists. And I think most adventurers are, actually. I think that's in our blood. You're always thinking we're going to get to the next hill. No, I don't want to take a break. Well, that sort of concept. You were going to say something, Junior?
I was just saying it's sad. I mean, you don't want to harp on it, but you want to remember those stories and hear them, because it's happening everywhere.
Right. Here's Eeyore, and here's Pollyanna, and I'm somewhere in the middle. There's things to look forward to. One of the encouragements, if there are any small businesses listening right now, one of the things we've been doing having a lot of conversations with companies around the world. An encouragement I would make to you as small adventure or even restaurants or whatever. A lot of people have the mindset, if I can just hang on through this turbulence and get to the other side, we're going to be fine, because tourism is going to come roaring back. I believe tourism is going to be different. So be paying very close attention to how you need to adjust your business, because you may never do it quite the way you used to before. And just hanging on to the other side may not be enough. So I would encourage you to think creatively, innovatively, talk to your competitors, make them your friends. We're all in this together.
That's very good advice. Very good. So one of the things I wanted to make sure with our Canadian audience here is that ATTA has many forms of membership. So you have the tour operators, and some memberships are accommodations, some are associations. So maybe you can explain to us a little bit about the various levels and how Canadians can get involved and support your association.
Sure. Well, and we retooled all of our membership during COVID because we saw how devastated financially our community was, and we knew that there were a lot that were not going to be able to do what they did in the past. So, I mean, in really briefly, we've got the governmental involvement, so governments can be a part of it as a tourism board or a DMO, and then we've got tour operator level, we've got travel agency. And then we created two new ones that are really specifically for hard times. And one is professional membership is only $99 a year, and you get benefits from it, and you get access to research and a bunch of other things. And then we have a free membership level, and anybody can join as a free member. And we created that because we were watching literally thousands of our colleagues lose their jobs, and we just thought, what a shame for them to lose their connection to this community that's been a really important part of their life. So yeah, if you can join at any level. We encourage people to come in at the level that they think they can afford, and we'll help them in either their personal life or their business.
Okay, and then so that sort of goes into the if ATTA members. So right now, when I was looking at it, so they can come and join, and then you've got your ATTA members can calculate and aggregate carbon emissions in order to receive bulk pricing. What is that sort of saying?
Yeah, so we have two programs, and they're both aimed at industry, really. Actually, that's not true. One is aimed at industry, one is industry plus the travelers. So the one that's for the industry, the one that I think you were just describing, is basically a bulk carbon offset purchase program, and it basically cuts out all the middlemen that were making money in the between places. Okay. And so that's for carbon offsetting, which is its mitigation, and I think it's important. But I think also a really important initiative that we've launched is called Tomorrow's Air, and that's where climate clever travelers and climate clever businesses can become a part. And it works with a technology in Switzerland that actually pulls the carbon from the air, sequesters it into a stone, and it can go in the ground and be permanently sequestered.
Wow.
So it's, the real criticism of it right now is that it's still expensive, but so was solar 25 years ago. And solar didn't totally make sense for everybody 25 years ago. Solar has come, so every technology is going to advance. And this one's going to...
It always is in the beginning. Yeah.
So it's really for the leading edge travelers and businesses to get involved with Tomorrow's Air to start recapturing carbon and make a difference for the long term.
And that is on Thursday, right?
We're doing an event. The Tomorrow's Air is an ongoing effort. It's an ongoing effort, but we are doing a conference that we've never done this before, where it's both trade, which is what we usually do, so that the businesses and the governments. Yeah. But then this time we also invited travelers. So at last count, I think we were closing in on 800 travelers that have signed up to be a part of it.
Nice.
And then I think we'll close in on probably 100 businesses that'll be involved. So.
And how much is it for
now?
them?
Now I expect a really big Canadian input now. So
watch the Maple Leaf wave, man. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah. Come on, everyone.
Whatever we wish for. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was a business, one of the big things we're working on is a whole bunch of training that we put on for our small businesses on simple things, on skills. Yep. Because that's a big thing that's lacking in a lot of our small, medium sizes, the skill set, time, and of course funding, which we touched on. So if I join ATTA, what are the skill sets I'm going to come away at after time?
Probably the ones that are at the top of the heap would be guide skills, because our community has so many guides in it. Okay. But also some business management skills, sustainability, safety, risk management. So most of the training that we do right now is more aimed at the trade, of course, to make the trade safer, more sustainable. What we're really trying to do is help create. I mean, the companies create themselves, but what we try to do is give education and training so that they can be really deliver world-class adventure experiences for the customers that show up. And sometimes it might be more safety-oriented, sometimes more sustainability. Other times it might be quality issues. I mean, I'm sure you guys have had this happen on both sides where a guide has either ruined a trip or made a trip absolutely next level with their knowledge, their care, their management, their skills. Yes. And so that's really what we're trying to do is help make the best guides that are out there.
Yeah, it's so funny. There's so many points. I shouldn't say so many, but there's a few points you touch on. It's something we've been sort of trying to go. We've always said a vacation is always determined by the host, not the property. Because I know a lot of suite tours you pay and it doesn't work, and then you got a lot of suite tours where it's not nearly as luxury, but people would pay a lot more money because the guide, the host, the accommodation makes it happen. It's magical.
Absolutely.
They make the experience.
Yeah. It's magical to watch some people when they're in their element in this industry. There are some very talented people in this industry that know and have incredible people skills.
Yes. Super guides.
Yep. Super guides.
Same with the locals when you go to a town.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's the experience in the town all depends on the locals and how they treat you and, you know, the friendliness.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So this has been absolutely phenomenal. So now Shannon, we didn't tell you this, but now we're doing a 24-hour marathon. So we're not, Shannon ain't going anywhere. So we're here all night, all day.
It starts now.
I got my water.
So thank you so much, Shannon, for coming. But before we let you go, I'm sure there's something there you'd like to share with our audience as we get this prepared to put all over our platforms tomorrow. And of course, for the live audience today, is there anything you'd like to leave with our audience before we let you go?
You know, I would just encourage everybody out there, because I don't know who you are, if you're a traveler or you're a business, but I would just encourage you to consider where and how you do your next vacation. And we really believe that travel is a privilege, not a right.
Oh, I like that.
And that the future of travel, I would like to see it move away from mass experiences and big efficiencies and the money all funneling back to large corporations. And I understand large corporations are important for the world, but you know, adventure tourism leaves 65% of the revenue in the destination, whereas mass tourism typically leaves 15% or less.
That is, where'd you get that? Is that from your reports?
We've done numerous studies on this. And,
wow.
And so it's really so true. It's a lot of people that care about fair trade and organic. So when you make a tourism decision, just think about it the same way. Think about what is the impact that my trip is going to have on the locals, on the wildlife. And I would ask the operator, you can ask him, say, don't ask, are you green or are you sustainable? Ask, what do you invest in to become more responsible and green? And how do you work with local communities? And if they're stuttering all over the place, then don't have a clear, crisp answer for that, look at all your options. So, and then, I mean, as far as the ATTA goes, we have a traveler-facing website called adventure.travel. So www.adventure.travel, you can learn a lot there. If you're interested in getting news about adventure travel, go to adventuretravelnews.com. That's our news outlet.
Okay.
And we don't give or sell or rent your information to anyone. So if you sign up with us, you're just going to get adventure travel stuff from us. So, but we encourage you, we invite you to join our community. Come become a community member. It's free. And anything that we can do to help grow the pie of adventure and responsible travel, that's our mission.
I joined already.
All right.
How are you,
bro? You joined before me.
I've already done it.
Oh, you
haven't joined yet.
You're the little brother. You can't be doing that.
Who's the favorite now?
Who's
the favorite now, Shannon? Huh?
Yeah. So anyways, we've been flagging your website and all your stuff on the screen while you've been talking. So hopefully we can get exposed, and we encourage everyone to check out these websites, the ATTA one, the Adventure Travel News. And what was the other one? Sorry, Shannon.
Adventure.travel.
Adventure Travel.
Yep, that's right.
So again, we'd like to thank Mr. Shannon Stowell, CEO of Adventure Travel Trade Association, for being our guest today on the Travel Talk Show. And again, Shannon, it's been a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege. Yeah. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your skill set with our audience. And again, we hope to have you back at a later date at some time if you'll take us.
I would love it. I'm honored as well and grateful. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So thank you, Shannon. We'll put you back in that green room, and you could stick around to the end while we close off the show, or we'll touch base on email. I know you got a lot to do, and
I'll wait for you.
Good luck to that cabin. Your little, you know what we're all envious of. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
Okay, bye.
So that was Mr. Adventure there, Colin Shannon Stowell, the CEO of Adventure Travel Trade Association. So what we make sure, it was a great, I mean, we've had some pretty wicked guests, and we've been lucky all around the world, all the way from as far as Australia, and of course all through Europe, and of course US, and UK and Germany. I mean, we've been so fortunate. It's definitely not because of our looks, I'll tell you that. Right, it has to be that Canadian charm. Supposedly
be the charm. Yeah.
Supposedly we got a Canadian accent. I always get a kick out of that. Huh? What? Right. And then of course we follow it with please, sorry, and thank you, because that's in our vocabulary. Sorry, I opened the door for you. Sorry, here's the butter. Sorry, I forgot to pass the milk. We're good on that stuff.
Yeah, whatever,
Yeah, whatever, right? So that's it, Call. That's episode 43. We're approaching the half-century mark on our shows, and we were going to do this. We were going to do this just to help tourism in Canada, and throw this out on all our platforms to all our followers, and to try and do our bit to help them out. Well, everyone else we didn't want to go ghost, so we came up with this, and it's turning into something we just might have to continue because
it's gotten legs and it's running.
Oh, and it's
going places.
It is going, and we're getting viewers around the world commenting and emails, and we haven't got a lot of hate mail yet. So that's a good. I think that's a sign of success once that starts flowing in. But we're not trying to give you any ideas.
Yeah, right? Sure. Bring on the hate mail. Yeah.
So we are your co-bro host of the Travel Talk Show. My name's Greg. This is Colin. We're the brothers of tourism and the co-bro founders of ATTA.travel.com and the ACanada Marketing Group. Yes. Please do us all a favor. Like everyone, we rely on word of mouth. We rely on people sharing. So please, please, please encourage others to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, or YouTube, preferably Facebook, because that is the main platform for tourism in Canada. Coming soon.
Share.
Coming soon to ATTA.travel.com is a new program you got to keep your eye out for. I'm just going to bring it up on screen here. And I'm going to just bring this guy up, and there he is. We have the Adventure Seeker Canada program. This is a very, very cool program. A whole bunch of Adventure Seeker tools are involved, and a whole bunch of little goodies. You got to see this. It's a brand new club we're forming, and it's going to be Canada-wide, and we're really excited, and we're getting a lot of questions and a lot of activity on it. So we'll watch our social media. A good reason to be following it, and this will be coming soon. The Adventure Seekers Program of Canada. Make sure you keep your eye out for all the details. And this is a specialized club, so you register, and we pick and decide across Canada who the Adventure Seekers, and it'll be once every year you can sign up for this program. So keep an eye out. It's exciting.
I'm already excited to get it going.
I thought I was waiting for you to put up the form, and then I was gonna veto it. Say no.
No, this super exciting program just to connect the adventurers out there, and let's it's gonna be stay tuned. Exactly. Stay tuned.
We'll see you next week, same time, same place, same country at 7 p.m. PST, right here on the ehCanadaTravel.com Facebook and YouTube page. Okay, Junior, if you would be so kind as to close us off.
Speaking of stay tuned, next week we got Wes Davis. He does a Fishing the Wild West TV show. There's 30 million viewers, folks. So if you're a fisherman, if you're curious about fishing, or possibly you're a fish, you'll want to tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. See you there.